topic was, my question was, why do inner city athletes lack equal opportunities? And to begin with, I would like two volunteers. One, come, and can I have you over there? Come up here, let's speak. Your name? We're in college student A. Student B. Alright, so this is just a hypothetical example of what just to explain more of my project. So student A here, she's a captain of a varsity soccer team. So student B is also captain of a varsity soccer team. Student B has been playing for 4 years. Student B has also been. Student A's has been, her school achieves academic excellence throughout its history, while student B's school's academic record has struggled throughout its history. Student A's athletic program in her school has been successful throughout the years, winning multiple championships, while student B's athletic program has been struggling and hasn't won much at all. This is also student A. Her school has the ability to fund and support her with $20,000 every year, while student B has only managed to help her with $8,000. This is a hypothetical example, but we see this a lot in many states around the country, where these students are these discrepancies that they have no control over affect them and affect their opportunities. Because as we saw, both of these students were dedicated in both soccer and in their academics. However, with the discrepancies that the school offered them, they weren't able to. They're unable to achieve the same based on the opportunities that they offered. This is just a graph of the division of funding based on the state, local, and federal level. As you can see, the states and local governments fund most of the schools because each state has its own, it regulates all its schools' funding. Any state could fund the schools as it believes adequate. So yeah, many of these urban low-income students suffer from this lack of funding because either schools don't achieve the academic excellence that other higher achieving schools do, which do receive more funding from the school. That's basically my problem. The problem that these student athletes don't have the opportunity to because of their academics and stuff like that. This is just a graph of the discrepancies that states show based on the income. So most 18 states in the United States support or help fund more of the high income neighborhoods, while there's less states that support the low incomes. For example, here in Illinois, there's a school called Nutrier, and on average it helps its students. What offers $20,000 per student through states, local, and federal funding. However, in Illinois, the average is around 10,000, which is a huge discrepancy because that's just an average. So there's more schools that offer less funding for the students, which offer less opportunities for them to grow both academically and athletically. And here's a graph of a discrepancy that between districts. Districts are just based on the same neighborhoods and schools between this just shows like the differences between the money that it doesn't matter whether it's the school's a mile away, they can still differ based on funding. So even though a student goes to a different school but is in the same neighborhood, doesn't mean they don't necessarily fund the schools the same way. So the school with the most funding offers the students more money, more opportunities for them to succeed in multiple areas of academics and athletics and whatever else they offer. So this ties into as I said, lack of opportunity, because as a established economic hierarchy, students that come from low-income backgrounds often stay in that spectrum because they grow up and go to attend schools that don't offer them the opportunities that wealthier and high-income schools offer them. So this just perpetuates the continuation of the cycle that never ends and continues on for multiple forever and ever. It's never ending. I mean, this is another chart that shows like the percentage of students that come from low income and stay there as they develop and grow. 70% remain in that bracket, and this leads to the lack of opportunity, leads to an unfair competition between them as the wealthier are offered more opportunities to grow and develop and attend college and all that. Those who low income aren't allowed those opportunities, so they're exposed to less and as a result have a less chance to succeed in the future. So this leads me to what my solution that could be. There's states such as Wyoming where they have adopted a method called the Robin Hood method, which sort of, I don't know if anybody's familiar, but it's sort of that the state is in charge of focusing on the low income schools such as the poor neighborhoods, while those with higher income, richer and wealthier people, those are more dependent on themselves because they have the resources and money to fund all those other schools with property tax and all these other funding that they have more access to. So the state government has the responsibility to help out those in need and offer resources to those that don't have it. It's been tested, like I said, it's been tested in Wyoming. In Illinois, for example, we don't have that. The state government could fund any school as it pleases and chooses to, whatever it finds adequate. However, those that attend low-income high schools and don't have the opportunity aren't given the opportunity to achieve in whether they're in athletics or anything like that. All in all, that's the importance of education to athletics. The athletics opens the doors for many of these low-income students that find interest in sports and think multiple things like that. So, as a gateway to success, the education is just important for these low-income students to achieve opportunities.